Hi folks, in this demo I'm going to show you how you can, in addition to sending emails to end users when a task is assigned in K2, you can also leverage the Microsoft Power Platform to go and send users a activity or an adaptive card for that K2 task right in their Teams chat feed. The tools I'm going to use to accomplish this would be the K2 Designer to build a K2 workflow, build smart objects, call the Power Automate flow. We're going to use Power Automate to build that Power Automate flow, and we're going to use REST United to actually go and create a Swagger definition in order to consume and call Power Automate. The technologies involved here would be the K2 platform for workflow, and then we're going to use the K2 platform's REST API, the workflow API. We're going to use the Microsoft Power Platform. Again, we're going to use Power Automate Cloud Flows in order to consume the Teams connector and actually push that Teams task as an adaptive card via the Flowbot. We're going to use Microsoft Teams, which is where Flowbot will live and which the end user will interact with. And then again, we're going to use REST in several different ways. We're going to both consume the Power Automate flow via REST from K2, and then we're also going to talk back from Power Automate flow to K2 to finish the K2 task via K2's REST API. So with that introduction, I will give you a brief demo of the end user experience, and then we can dive in a little bit deeper into what the actual technology and what the puzzle pieces, how they came together. So first off, I didn't spend too much time on creating forms, so I'll just show you right in K2 management how we can start the workflow. So we'll just manually start a K2 workflow, which would then go and assign that K2 task, and as well as push that adaptive card or Teams task into the user's channel. So we'll just say Dewald Teams demo number 1 for the folio, and I'll hit the start button. So we'll see the workflow will start to run, and I want to show you how the flow bot just pushed a card into my Teams feed. So you'll see I used the folio as a title for this adaptive card, and then what's kind of cool, and you'll see this a little bit later on, is that you can interact with this card by capturing comments, and then you can also, for every K2 action that we have, you can surface that as a button that you can interact with. You'll see in the view flow that it gives you some hints on how I implemented this, but you can see that we are currently waiting for a user to complete the task, and we've got 3 actions. Nothing too difficult in this workflow. It's just to bring the point across. So if I hit the approve button here, the card updates and says thank you, you have responded, and you'll see here in the background that the workflow should update and move along. Here we go. You can see that I have the approved, followed the approved path. Again, this workflow doesn't do anything other than demonstrate the integration. If I click on process instance detail, just diving into the reports, if you remember, I hit the approve button, which is the action I took, and then I also provided a comment, which is it's a common scenario in K2 in order to be able to interact with smart actions and capture a comment. And what I actually did, you can see that there's my awesome comment and the action I have taken. Now, how I put this all together is I'll show you the workflow real quick. Actually, let's start with Power Automate. So first things first, created this flow with a HTTP trigger. This trigger has a post URL, which is really just a REST endpoint. You can, in this trigger, define what the request body should look like, which is incredibly useful for us to then go and define in REST United our Swagger definition. So with this URL, with its parameters, and this request body, I went and I generated the Swagger definition, which I then took and I am consuming via the K2 REST broker. Okay, so then I just generated the smart objects in order to trigger that flow. So going back to the flow, just so you know what that does, is I have to initialize a variable, and then I actually send in all of the K2 actions as a comma separated list of values. So I just apply to each, I split on that comma, and then I add each one of those task actions as an object to that task actions variable, which is an array. So it adds each one of those objects to the array, and then here's where the magic happens. You use the team's task to push an adaptive card to the recipient that we will send in from the K2 workflow, and this is the adaptive card. So if you use that task action variable, the array, that's actually what generates that list of buttons down at the bottom. And then we did choose that the card should update once the user has responded, and we should alert once the user has responded. And then finally, here's where we do the K2 interaction back to K2. So K2 starts the Power Automate flow, but then Power Automate flow needs to complete the K2 task. And we have a serial number that we also sent in the request body, and we just finished that server event, and we pass in the data fields from the response that the user responded with in the adaptive card. Okay, so that is the Power Automate side of the house. Then the K2 side of the house, pretty easy. I just split these. I'm sure you can do this in a different way as well. Just wanted to show everybody that we can assign a K2 task still. And then what we could do is we could also build up the flow properties that we need, which is just really building up that request body. You can see I made this I'm sending in a read-only URL. There is my comma separated list of actions, the task or step serial number, and then I execute on the flow properties to start Power Automate flow task, pass in the parameters, and then important, I check the wait for external system, which turns this into a server event. It's kind of like a client event, but no assigned users. It generates a serial number, which you can then go and finish with the finish server event method or that REST API endpoint. Because I update these data fields, I can first go and merge the paths back together. First path to respond would then go and expire all of the other tasks or other steps, and then I just do a static decision which looks at the action taken data field to determine which action was taken. Now, what we'll do if the user does happen to respond from a K2 work list or via the smart actions or via a form, and they complete this task, the same thing will happen. This will expire right here, but I need to grab that task action result, put it into my variable, and then do the same decision. And again, I'm sure this piece over here you can do in different ways. But again, just wanted to show which is which clearly. And finally, what I wanted to just quickly talk to you about is next steps. Other things we can do is we can, with this method of opening up or calling a Power Automate flow from K2, it really opens up the window of opportunity for us to be able to do whatever Power Automate can do. So have Microsoft interact with Microsoft. We can probably go and the reminders that we have on the K2 task, we can probably push that into a planner and have users receive their reminders straight in Teams or from Teams planner. We can use any one of several hundred different connectors that Teams gives us just with this pattern that we follow. So that was short and sweet. I hope you liked it. I hope that generates some ideas for you that you can follow. Let us know if there's anything we can help with or if you have any questions. Thank you.